Psalm 118:24, King James Version. This is the day which the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. New International Version. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it.
And I know that I did when I woke up this morning at 5:45. I said, this is going to be a great day in the city of Mobile, and I felt so good.
Wake up! Wake up, everybody! Wake up! Wake up, everybody! Wake up!
Uncle Henry Show. Thank you so much for listening to the Uncle Henry Show here on News Radio 710 WNTM 99.5 FM The Jag. It's Friday. As one meteorologist says, the weekend is so close you can almost taste it. And as Wet Willie would say, weekend, do what you want to do. Weekend when your working day is through. Weekend. And probably a lot of people get frustrated because they've been taught locally by Wet Willie that the weekend is when you do what you want to do. Probably you'll get into a situation on the weekend where you're not doing what you want to do, and it frustrates you because you've been led to believe that you ought to be able to do what you want to do. And that doesn't always happen in the work world or the family world. Like the male that might be forced to go to a craft show, an arts and craft show with his spouse. All right, well, enough about that. Let's see, news items to get to. I'm very pleased that it looks like a lot of the weather is not as big a problem. So wonderful. But meanwhile, the weather is not a problem. However, the Republicans have revealed their health care bill. The Republicans have revealed their health care bill. Now, what should we think of this? Well, I've got some reaction to it for you to listen to from Senator Elizabeth Warren. Here is what she has to say about the Republican health care plan.
These cuts are blood money. People will die. Let's be very clear. Senate Republicans are paying for tax cuts for the wealthy with American lives. All
right. Did you know that? Did you know? So there's some legislation that's going to kill a bunch of people. Now, you might think maybe that's hype. I hope so. I hope that's just hype. I hope that's just, this may be a shock to you, but sometimes politicians exaggerate. I hope that was just an exaggeration to get the attention of the weak-minded. But that's the reaction. The Republicans have passed legislation, and that they're coming to get you. All right, more in a moment on the Uncle Henry Show.
710 Time Saver Traffic from the Main Street Flooring and Design Traffic Center.
After a really rough Thursday, thanks to Cindy and all of her bluster, Friday morning's off to a much better start. We aren't seeing much rain on radar at all, and a lot of the traffic restrictions we saw yesterday have been lifted, primarily among them the Causeway, which was closed for most of yesterday, did reopen to traffic yesterday afternoon and is fully open both directions this morning. So better news right out the box this morning. I'm Ray Romero.
Gulf Coast weather from Local 15 and the Kemco Metal Buildings Weather Center.
It is going to be a swampy Friday along the Gulf Coast. We're still going to have quite a bit of tropical air in place and a few more tropical showers. About a 40% chance of wet weather today. With less rain, our temperatures will warm into the upper 80s. A muggy night with lows in the 70s and about a 50-50 shot of wet weather on Saturday and Sunday. I'm Kelly Foster for Local 15 News in this iHeartRadio station.
Start your morning with Uncle Henry. News Radio 710 WNTM.
Hey guys, I'm Jillian Michaels, and you can catch my irreverent, super fun, crazy and wild podcast. It's free on iHeartRadio right now. All the best info on career advice, dating, life lessons, health, fitness, nutrition. Search for Jillian Michaels on iHeartRadio.
This morning at 9, ask the expert. Then Rush at 11. Right now, it's Uncle Henry on News Radio 710 WNTM.
Leonard, Uncle Henry, I've lived in Mobile all my life, and Lynyrd Skynyrd is not, I repeat, not the soundtrack of my life.
Message deleted.
Uncle Henry Show. Thank you for listening to the Uncle Henry Show. And for watching it on the CW55. Also, good morning to those that are picking up the program through telepathy. That is a wonderful thing. Now, let's see. Coming up in about 10 minutes, we're going to have a very early edition of the feature called Dear Ariel, where we offer Ariel a letter from Dear Abby and get her take. That's coming up in about 10 minutes on the Uncle Henry Show. In fact, Ariel, if you don't mind, I'd like you to join me here. There's a news story that I'm curious about. I don't quite understand how it's going to work. We've talked before about the changing world in which we buy things, with lots of things being delivered now. And Ariel, I saw that Amazon is starting a new service where I guess it's designed to destroy retail clothing, because they want you to buy your clothes from Amazon.
Oh.
And the new service is where they send you the clothes, and you have a week to like try it on and wear it, and if you don't like it, you send it back.
Wow, it's a lot of services like that now.
But
where you can just sample the clothing, and if you don't like it, you send it back.
Yeah, but aren't now? And you've mentioned other services do it, but Amazon, of course, is just
now
gigantic, and it'll be a lot bigger because they do it.
And you know what? Because it's Amazon, and I already buy a lot of stuff from Amazon, it's more appealing.
All right. The reason I'm bringing this up, the question is, what do they do with all the clothes that people have worn, and then they don't want to buy them?
That's a good question.
I mean, do you try to wash them and then sell them to somebody else? What do you do? What do you do with nasty clothes?
Do they just dry clean them and then just sell them to the next person, or is it now like at a discounted price because it was worn?
What if they send me a shirt to wear? Am I getting a shirt that some other man has worn in Illinois or something?
If you think about it, though, most of the time when you go into a retail clothing store, somebody at some point had it on their person.
That's true. That's true. But they're sending these things to people for a week, so they could go wear it to the movies, to have dinner, to walk around the town, and then it's just there's something about this that is unusual to me.
I like it. I like it because it's Amazon, not for any other reason. Because all these other companies, when they did it, I was like, psh, that's so stupid. Now that Amazon is doing this, like, oh my God, that's brilliant.
we have come to expect them to have figured things out.
Yeah.
So their brand name is that powerful that okay. So maybe they've got special clothes cleaning robots or something, some spray. You mentioned dry cleaning. Maybe they just perfected all that.
Somehow they'll make it work.
Okay. All right, Ariel, thank you. Ariel, we'll be getting back together with Ariel right after the break for a new edition of Dear Ariel, where we take Dear Abby and put it to Ariel. Yes, it's a Friday. Almost tasting the weekend at this point. Thank you for listening to the Uncle Henry Show. Thank you for watching the Uncle Henry Show. And there's more to come in just a moment.
While they were watching
Obama spying on Americans,
you were listening. Keep on listening.
It's so sick.
Sean Hannity, 2 till 5. News Radio 710, WNTM.
Angelo's here from Mobile Bay Coins. Angelo, why do people collect coins?
Well, Uncle Henry, if you go way back in time, we're really all hunter-gatherers at heart. Some of us are hunters, and we're out there, ooh, and we want that big trophy.
We're out there, who?
Well, yeah, you think about it. Back in the day, you're out there hunting. You're hunting for food for the family. You're going to drag a deer or a moose or something back
So
to the
coins
cave.
are like moose?
They are. You want the biggest and best one to show off to your family and say, look at this moose. Look at this beautiful coin I got. This is the best one that's out there. And that is something you can put on the wall and show off and be impressive with.
So can you help me hunt and gather at Mobile Bay Coins?
We certainly can. Whether you want to hunt for the best coin for your collection that is going to be put on the wall and you're going to brag about it, or if you're a gatherer and you just want to have a big old pile of silver or gold there that you can show off to your family, we can help you make that happen.
It's all very primal. Hunting and gathering, coin collecting, Mobile Bay Coins, 2204 Government Street, Midtown Mobile. Look for them on Facebook.
Finding great candidates to hire can be, well, like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter is different. It doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them. With its powerful technology, ZipRecruiter distributes your job everywhere it needs to be to find the right candidates. In fact, over 80% of jobs on ZipRecruiter get a qualified candidate in just one day. So, while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, only ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
Used by businesses of all sizes, ZipRecruiter offers the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter free. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/.
And we're back here on the Uncle Henry Show on the CW55. We're in a radio break. Radio listener here is hearing from our sponsors, news, traffic, weather. We have Dear Ariel coming up in about 3 minutes. Before we do that, Jill is with us. Jill, good morning.
Good morning, Henry. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm wonderful.
Good.
I'm present and accounted for.
Yay. All right, you're going to tell us how the Amazon thing works.
Yeah, the way that'll work is they'll have a crew of people. It'll be on intake when those come back, but they have machines that will check them for spots, and they'll do some of that by hand, but then they'll steam them and get them ready to go again. But I have a neighbor that she does that and then wears them and then takes them back. But for years, I bought my clothes from a boutique in Denton, Texas. And when that woman went to market, she would buy from me because she knew I wasn't a social life, but I was very active in Montgomery, for example, because I was a military wife. And I also traveled everywhere. But, I worked for Neiman Marcus for many years. So I learned that. But my aunt, my father's twin sister, was in the rag business. I learned a lot from her when I was a child. So that's the way it works. And
now, the rag business?
Yeah, that's what we call it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Well, Jill, I hate to cut you short, but I've got to get ready to go back on the air for radio, the poor, pitiful people listening on radio, and provide them with Dear Ariel. But thank you for that. I appreciate the insight on how the rag business in modern times might work, the steaming of clothing. Now, I'm curious as to, so if there's an ugly shirt and Amazon sends it to me and I send it back, and then they send it to Billy Bob and he sends it back, and they send it to Chucky and he sends it back, and they send it to Bubba and he sends it back, how many times is somebody going to get a shirt that like 15 men have worn and had been steamed? At what point is it discounted or given to the people that are being thrown off health care? All right, stand by. We're going to be going back to radio here in just a moment with a new edition of Dear Ariel on the Uncle Henry Show. It is the weekend. If you're looking for something to do, look on your best bets for the weekend at mixgulfcoast.com, a list of local events at mixgulfcoast.com. All right, stand by. Here we go.
Radio station.
Roll Tide. This is the Uncle Henry Show on News Radio 710 WNTM.
Thank you for listening to the Uncle Henry Show. Today is Friday. That means in Lower Alabama, newspapers have been thrown at buildings, and we had newspapers thrown at our building, and I picked one up, brought it in, and I've got a new edition of Dear Abby. So that means we have a new edition of the feature we call Dear Ariel. This is where we take a letter that was sent to Abby, and we compare the answers of Abby and Ariel. It's a generational exercise. Ariel, are you ready?
It's early, but let's do this.
All right, here is your letter. Dear Ariel, I recently met a 28-year-old father of 3 I'm interested in.
Okay.
He seems wonderful. He's a hard worker. He takes care of his responsibilities and is an amazing father to his 3 children. Okay. They're all still very little, but they're great kids. Ariel, the only thing that's been on my mind lately is he has a lot of baggage. Those kids are from 3 different women. He gets along with all of them very well, to the point that they sometimes do stuff together with the children. They go out to places, or sometimes he invites them over to his place to swim in the pool. I understand that he has to maintain a healthy relationship with his exes for the sake of the children, but I never thought it would be this healthy. I've never experienced something like this. I appreciate him being upfront about everything, but I can't stop thinking about it. Ariel, am I overreacting? And that is from Three's Company.
You want to go with, yeah, you're overreacting? Okay, for you to say, I knew I want it to be healthy, but not this health. How health? What? Girl, that doesn't even make any sense. Okay, the fact that he is not only taking care of the responsibility of his children, but he's also trying to, show his kids the relationship between their mothers and himself is healthy and stable, and that this could actually work is a big, big deal. I know entirely too many people that cannot co-parent with each other. In fact, they can't even speak to each other without yelling at each other. So, I mean, you should be happy that this is a thing. Now, while you are on the fast track to being baby mama number 4, let's just be real with where we're at. At least you know you guys will have a good relationship. He's proven himself over and over. Get out while you can. Get out.
Okay. All right. This is what Abby had to say. We'll compare it because Abby, different from Ariel in that she's extremely elderly. Abby says, are you overreacting? I don't think so.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
While I admire the man's devotion to his children, not to mention his skilled diplomatic ability, it does appear that he has a problem making a lasting commitment to a woman.
Obviously. Unless
you would seriously consider joining this harem, I urge you to religiously practice contraception. If you would like children in the future, it would be better to approach it with someone who isn't as marriage phobic as this man appears to be.
Marriage phobic? That's a thing?
Well,
it just sounds like a bunch of sister wives.
Doesn't it?
Yes. Like
it
they
does.
Are shiny, happy people holding hands and all sharing one guy.
Okay. All right. Well, Ariel, thank you. Thank you for your take. And that's another edition of Dear Ariel here on the Uncle Henry Show. I'm very glad that I did not need to write to Abby about any of this stuff. Now, the one thing that caught my attention in that letter that has nothing to do with the situation of whether or not the woman should be dating the man with the 3 children is that he's 28 with all these little children and different ladies. He's got a pool. So he is, unless he lives still with his family, with his parents, he's doing pretty good. At age 28 with a pool, it's not bad. That's the kind of stuff I'm thinking of. How did he get the pool? I don't care about his relationships. I want to know about the finances. All right, we're here on the Uncle Henry Show on a Friday with many more hours of show to come. Coming up later in about it'll be about 25 minutes, Joe Gomez, NBC News Radio, will share some of the healthcare reaction with the health care bill that was put out by the Republicans. I will tell you that the reaction's not good, that the Democrats, they're automatically against it because that's the way the country now functions. And there are other Republicans against it as well. So I don't know that anything has changed, really. Even though there's a health care plan, I don't think there's anything that's changed. But we'll get that reaction from Joe Gomez coming up here in about 20, 25 minutes. Also, later this morning, in about 30 minutes, we're going to have musicians try to get into the building and perform on the show. And it's going to be a vast learning experience for all of us because we've never used our performance stage. We actually have a stage in the room that is set up for performers. And the thing about it is that all the microphones are on one thing, and I just don't know how it's going to sound. So it'll be, if you like TV bloopers, Uncle Henry Show #1 in TV bloopers, no doubt about it. And for radio listeners, if you like audio distortion and audio problems, also a wonderful show for you this morning. All right, stand by for the TV viewer back in 2 minutes. For the radio listener, you've got news, traffic, weather, a bunch of info being shoved at you immediately.
Your morning espresso starts right here. It's the Sean Hannity Morning Minute.
Now we find ourselves in a position, now the president has lawyers and Mike Pence has lawyers and everybody in the White House has lawyers and everybody, gets worried and concerned and then you have conflicts of interest where Mueller shouldn't be as the best friend of James Comey talking to him before his testimony before the House Intelligence Community. And Rosenstein, if he makes one recommendation, he shouldn't, I guess the only obstruction would be against himself for making the recommendation. And Mueller is Comey's BFF. And then he's hiring all of these, hardcore left-wing Democratic activist donors that don't like Donald Trump. Well, can we hire at least a few people and balance it out and then put Trump supporters in there, one for one? I mean, I don't think I've seen a deck stack like this in my life.
The Sean Hannity Show from coast to coast later today.
There are few things in life as rewarding as being part of a worthy cause. Hi, I'm Jim McCann, chairman of 1-800-Flowers.com and co-founder of the nonprofit organization Smile Farms. At Smile Farms, we find it unacceptable that nearly 80% of adults with developmental disabilities are unemployed in the United States. So we decided to try and do something about it. Smile Farms is dedicated to supporting people with special needs by providing meaningful work experiences and social interaction. Smile Farms is making a difference by offering fulfilling jobs at local farms, urban gardens, and greenhouses. What began as one Smile Farms has quickly grown into 3, with 3 more set to open this year. Through your charitable donations, Smile Farms will continue to create similar opportunities across the U.S. and make a positive impact on the lives of those with special needs and their families.
Visit smilefarms.org to learn how you can make a donation and change a life. That's smilefarms.org.
710 Time Saver Traffic from the Main Street Flooring and Design Traffic Center.
And welcome back to the Uncle Henry Show here on the CW55. Dare to defy, dare to live your life is the mission statement of the CW55. Next week, our final week on the CW55. Thank you to this, but we'll still be on the News Radio 710 WNTM Facebook page and on YouTube if you want to look at the show live or after the fact. Now, before we move any further, yesterday was a really rough traffic day with a lot of roads that were impassable. If you don't mind, I'd like to listen to our traffic man to see how things are this morning. So just briefly here, I'm going to share with you the traffic report to see how the roads are.
After a brutal and wet Thursday, thanks to Cindy, we are seeing a much better flow of traffic throughout the area. The primary problem we had yesterday was the closure of the causeway due to high wind and surf that was knocking waves across the road. That's not the case this morning. Causeway is open both directions, but in the eastbound direction, you will find water still on the shoulders from all the activity that we did have yesterday, but no major problems so far. I'm Ray Romero.
All right, very good. Ray Romero. He is he is tremendous. The traffic guy, I think you'd be better off if he were doing the show and I were doing his traffic. He's very good. His vocabulary is terrific. All right, well, here we are. We're going to be going back on the radio here in about 4 minutes. So I saw a story yesterday that caught me off guard locally because I was looking for news items. We haven't had a lot of local news lately because it's just been raining. But I did see a story for Mobile, Alabama, that there's a third mayoral candidate. There's a young man, and I need to find his name so that I can, and I'm sure I'm going to be interviewing this guy just to find out more about him. But there's a mayoral candidate. His name, let's see if I can get the story for you. His name is Anthony Leonard Thompson. He's running for mayor of Mobile. And his campaign slogan is Make Mobile Healthier. And he's an LPN. He apparently is a Mobile native. He's 32 years old. And he said that he's a Mobile native who grew up in Florida, visiting Mobile in the summer and on the holidays, and he moved here 2 years ago, and now he's running for mayor. The story, and I find this very mysterious. Very mysterious. The story doesn't mention where he works, so I'd really like to know a lot more about him. The ins and outs of this new candidate. The chances of him winning, well, I'll leave that up to you. It's somebody you've never heard of, somebody that most of us had never heard of, that doesn't have any campaign money raised, who's trying to go up against two people with big name recognition. I'll leave it up to you to figure out whether or not the guy has a chance. But I find this very mysterious. Very mysterious. So please please allow me to call him the mysterious mayoral candidate, Anthony Leonard Thompson. The mysterious mayoral candidate, Anthony Leonard Thompson. And I mentioned his campaign slogan, Make Mobile Healthier. And I don't, and he also says, here's a quote from the AL.com story written by Lawrence Specker. He says, quote, my biggest challenge, I believe, is going to be showing baby boomers and Generation X that millennials and Generation Y actually can take over and do a good job and do a better job and fix the mistakes of the past. That's going to be the biggest challenge, I believe, because I've received a lot of ageism. Ageism. Now, I've heard of, what is Generation Y? Ariel, have you heard of Y? Have you? You have? All right. Well, I'm going to learn something from him. And again, I'm going to leave it up to you to speculate on his chances. But if I can learn, I've already learned something from the man, that there's a Generation Y. Who are they? Well, when we go back on radio, I'm going to immediately ask Ariel to tell us who is Generation Y. And we'll be back on radio here in about 30 seconds. But an LPN, the thing that's, I find it mysterious. I want to know what on earth would lead someone to think that they have a shot at that age with that profession at being mayor. All right, stand by.
Every morning, this is News Radio 710 WNTM.
Uncle Henry Show. Thank you for listening to the Uncle Henry Show. We have a new mayoral candidate in Mobile. I was just telling the TV viewers about this guy. AL.com's Lawrence Specker wrote a story about Anthony Leonard Thompson. He's a 32-year-old LPN, and he told the newspaper, or he told AL.com, the biggest challenge is going to be showing baby boomers and Generation X that millennials and Generation Y actually can take over and do a good job. Ariel, please join me here because I've heard of millennials.
Right.
What is Generation Y?
Generation Y is kind of like the millennials, but the upper end of millennials. Like you have your Generation X, and then Generation Y is kind of more like where I'm grouped in at, between the 1980s and 1990s, before the millennial actually started. But a lot of us that are on the lower end, like I was born in 89, so I kind of got my foot in both. I can call myself Generation Y, while I, for the most part, grew up with the millennials.
So
it's confusing.
If you're what, 28 to 30 something, you're
Right.
a Generation Y?
Generation Y, correct. You're in Generation Y.
Is-
Because you kind of grew up when, things made sense in the 90s. You still
Well,
have
when-
some of that 90s appeal to you.
Well, when does Y become X?
When X dies.
No, when Y. So Generation Y, does it go up to age 40?
I think so. I know it's pretty much it's categorized between 1980 and 1990. So in those years. So like if you were born in like 79, you kind of got your foot in the Generation Y.
You know, when I was, it all started with this baby boom generation. I don't think we named waves of babies up until the baby boom.
Well, you have something to be proud of now.
Look, it's confusing.
It is.
It's confusing. I understand millennials because there's a bunch of them around here. But I don't understand Y and X. And I'd forgotten about X, and I'd never heard of Y.
See? But Y is kind of one of those things that the people who don't want to be grouped in with millennials have come up with. And it's like, girl, it doesn't matter. Because you guess what? We all grew up in this time frame, and we're all kind of functioning in this millennial time frame. So just stop it.
Okay.
Just stop it.
All right, we're about to go to break here. Ariel, the musicians are down at the front door.
Yay, rock stars.
Well, we'll see. They're pretty talented.
Yeah.
If we can get this microphone system to work.
That was the worst that could happen.
Well, you're right. I think this show has already experienced the worst for many, many years.
Exactly.
So no worries here. So, Ariel, unfortunately, I'm going to have to ask you to make the trek
Ay, El Capitan.
to let them in. B. Graves and his crew of musicians. I think he's even brought somebody with bongo drums. How can we go wrong if somebody's in here beating on a drum? All right, more show in just a moment. Uncle Henry Show.
710 Time Saver Traffic from the Dean McCrary Volkswagen Traffic Center.
We have an early morning accident that's starting to cause some backups in Pensacola. This is southbound on Blue Angel Parkway near Scotland Road. We're also seeing a lot of road closures remaining because of ongoing high water, including Lott Road and Ferry Road at the Escatawpa River. The big closure from yesterday, though, was the causeway, which is back fully open both directions across the bay this morning. With Time Saver Traffic, I'm Ray Romero.
This report is brought to you by Unbound.
When you sponsor through Unbound, you not only open the door to education for a young person, you empower a family to build a foundation of financial stability, empowerment, and respect. See your contribution grow into opportunity at unbound.org.
Gulf Coast weather from Local 15 and the Southern Cancer Center. Weather Center.
TGIF, everybody. We're going to have about a 40% chance of wet weather for today. Due to the fact that we'll have less rain coverage, our temperatures will warm into the upper 80s. It's going to be very humid out there. 74 degrees will be your overnight low. And then over the weekend, we've got about a 50-50 shot of wet weather with highs in the upper 80s. I'm Kelly Foster for Local 15 News in this iHeartRadio station.
The home of Glenn Beck. News Radio 710 WNTM. Traffic updates every 10 minutes on the 9s every morning. This is the Uncle Henry Show on News Radio 710 WNTM.
Uncle Henry, why don't you open a hotline for Uncle Henry listeners who are chemically imbalanced?
Press 4. Message deleted. Press.
Uncle Henry Show. Thank you for listening to the Uncle Henry Show. Just had a musician look at me through the glass. Now let's see. I saw a story about legalized dope smoking versus the beer industry. I don't know if you saw this story yourself or not, but it looks like in the states where they've legalized dope smoking out west, that beer sales have gone down. And the analysis is that some people of all ages, even older people, are switching from beer to dope smoking in those states, and beer sales are going down. Now, that you realize what this will mean. And what this means is that the beer industry is going to do one of two things. They're going to spend an enormous amount of money to try and lobby against the legal dope smoking in other states. They're going to try and prevent it from spreading by lobbying against it. Or they're going to try to get in that business. They'll do one of two things. They'll either fight it tooth and nail and spend some money to stop it, or they'll try to actually be in that business themselves, so that you could buy Bud Light, and it would be, you could buy a Bud Light marijuana cigarette or something like that. That's my prediction on how that will turn out, because the industries are clashing out west. I did, and no, just because there are musicians here, that's not the reason I brought that story up. I would have brought that, just because we got a bunch of musicians here is not why I brought up legal dope smoking. That is not why I did that. It just so happened, coincidentally, that musicians are here on the same day that story is out in the news about the beer industry taking a hit out on the West Coast. Specifically Colorado, California, and one of those other states that people are. And I also saw the story related to that, where there are more traffic crashes, more car accidents in these states. We've been led to believe that it's safer than using alcohol, and yet there are people out there getting into vehicle collisions using these substances. So there's a lot to think about there. Maybe that little factoid was paid for by the beer industry. Maybe that story was paid for. All right, stand by. We're going to take a break. I'm going to invite the musicians to begin to come in, even though Joe Gomez is coming up next. We're going to talk to Joe Gomez about the reaction to the health care bill on the Uncle Henry Show.